Hey guys, it's Alexander Tomic here, co-founder of 96.4 Digital. Welcome to today's training. I'm super excited to have you guys here, and as you can probably tell, in today's video or today's training session, I'm going to show you how you can create massive amounts of engaging content in the form of long-form videos, short-form videos, blogs, graphics, images, infographics, podcasts, and written content that you can share across your websites as well as the social media platforms. So stick around and I'll show you exactly the process that we went through in order to be able to create anywhere from 30 to 40 pieces of content on the back of one video. So stick around and I'll show you the process that we've used and how you can do the exact same thing. So you might be thinking to yourself, what's in it for me? What isn't it for me and what's in it for you? From my end, I will explain, but for yourself, as you know, you've got to be seen by your audience. If you're not seen by your audience, you become irrelevant. You don't generate the clients, the leads that you're looking for, the brand that you're trying to build, the reputation you're trying to build. None of that comes to fruition unless you're seen. And in today's day and age, content marketing, producing content, videos, graphics, blogs, podcasts, that is the single most effective way to generate leads, to generate traffic organically. So if you stick around, you'll learn how you can create an abundance of content that's engaging, that's creative, that's innovative, with as little as 15 minutes a day. So that in turn is going to save you a lot of time, but it's also going to allow you to focus on what you're good at. And that's running your business, it's talking to clients. Might not necessarily be creating content, but that's the process we'll show you how to go through, so you don't have to do that yourself and you don't have to spend 4 or 5 hours a day doing that. On the flip side of that, you might be asking yourself, well, what's in it for me? Well, what's in it for you, Alex? Well, it's a great question. And the reason I'm sharing this with everyone is because probably about 10 years ago now, I come across Les Brown for the first time. And obviously he's quite a successful individual, successful motivational speaker, life transformer. And there was one particular message he shared that really stuck with me to this day. And that being that the wealthiest place in the world is the graveyard. Because in the graveyard, that's where you will find all the ideas that never came to reality, the solutions to problems that never came to fruition, that never became real, the cures, the inventions that never happened, the words that were never spoken, the movies that were never created, the documentaries that were never created, the poems that were never created, the books never written. All of this was locked up in people's heads, and they took that with them to the graveyard. So the knowledge, the content they had stored in their head, that was all stuck with them, and they took that to the graveyard. And that's exactly why we're doing this right now, and that's exactly why I want to share this with you, because I believe that we all have a story to share. And that might sound cheesy, it might sound like it's an infomercial or some sort of commercial, but I genuinely do believe that. And I know that because that's exactly how we stumbled into the business that we're in right now. So we are in several businesses, but in particular, 96.4 Digital, we really stumbled into this by chance. And I will explain that to you in just a second, but I genuinely do believe that wherever you are in your journey, I believe that we all have a story to share. It might be a certain set of skills, it might be an experience, it might be knowledge or ideas or something that's locked up in your head, your story, your life story, your purpose that needs to be shared with more people around the world. Because I do believe that we are here for a purpose, and I think that purpose is much greater than just being for ourselves. I believe we're all here on this earth for a reason, and that reason is to serve one another, to help ourselves, but more importantly, to help each other, to make the world a better place, to make people's lives easier, to make the time that we all do have here a lot more enjoyable for everyone involved. Now, some of you might already realize this, and you might already be sharing your story, and that's fantastic. But irrespective of where you are on your journey, I do believe that it is your duty to actually share your message, to share your story. So whether you're a professional speaker already, you might be reaching millions of people already out there in the world, or you might have just identified your message or still trying to figure out what your message is. I believe we all have the education, the tools, the experience, the skills, something locked within us that needs to be shared with more people around the world. And that's exactly why I've created this training to help you share your message, share your story with a wider audience, but also to save you time as well. So as I mentioned a couple of seconds ago, we really stumbled into this process. So the way it happened was we were at Grant Cardone. So myself and Mohammed Sidibe, my business partner, we were in Miami for the 10X conference early 2019. We were actually headed to the conference, and what we did to get there was call an Uber. So the Uber driver was out the front. Supposedly we got the notification. We were waiting for him. Waiting, but we were also told that he was there. So we called our Uber driver. No answer the first time, no answer the second time, no answer the third time, and we're just about to cancel the trip. And it was a bit frustrating because we had waited 5 or so minutes. But in the corner of Mo's eye, he was able to spot a black sedan which resembled the Uber that was supposed to pick us up. So we approached the Uber and we got in. We realized that is in fact the right Uber driver. And we asked him, "Excuse me, sir, we called you 3 times, you didn't answer. Is there any particular reason why?" And very quickly we realized that this gentleman had a really big challenge speaking. He had a very challenging or very difficult stutter. So he had a speech impediment. And because of that speech impediment, he was concerned and anxious simply with answering the phone. And that's why he didn't. So we got talking. We're in the actual Uber for maybe 20 minutes or so, and Mo started talking to this particular driver. And personally, I couldn't connect to this conversation because I've never had a stutter myself, but I could see the pain, the anxiety, the stress, the fear that this particular driver felt just with speaking, and the experience he's had his whole life, because his stutter had caused him a lot of pain. But in particular, what it also meant, it meant his stutter, because of his stutter, he had given up on his dream of becoming an attorney because of the concern and the stress and anxiety he felt simply by speaking. And as you can appreciate, to be an attorney, you've got to be in a courtroom representing clients, speaking in public, and he just couldn't do it. So he gave up on his dream of becoming an attorney, and in exchange, he settled for becoming an Uber driver. Now, don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with being an Uber driver, but it is, in my opinion, a huge drop both in potential earnings and potential career progression. Look, let's face it, an attorney can make a lot more money and can make a much greater contribution to the world than an Uber driver can. Again, not to diminish the value of Uber drivers, but you get my point. So Mo, he was able to connect and build rapport with this particular driver because Mo, for 23 years, he had a stutter. And I've known Mo since we were both about 18, freshmen in college. And I know just how hard it was for him to speak to people, to say hi to people, to communicate, to lead, to voice his opinion. So I could tell that Mo really resonated and connected with this individual. And Mo, later that evening, he started sharing with me a little bit about his journey. And I was quite oblivious to all of this during our years together in college, but I realized that stuttering had caused Mo a lot of pain as well. He had missed out on so many opportunities, so many experiences because of his stutter. And later that evening, we did a bit of research and we realized that about 1 in 100 people worldwide stutter. So 1 in 100 people worldwide have an issue with speaking to people. Unintentionally, they will stutter. And that causes pain, that causes suffering. And there's a lot of negative stigma, which creates a lot of psychological challenges and even damage to a lot of people. So we knew that the fact that Mo has done something to overcome his stutter meant that he had these skills, he had this certain set of tools or a toolkit in his head that he could share with an audience, quite a large audience, roughly 80 million people, that could hear his message, that could benefit from hearing what he had to say and what he had to show them. So we started a business called Lifetime Fluency. And Mo, as he was sharing with me his journey and how, as we were creating programs about all of this, he actually showed me the amount of studying, the amount of research, the amount of practice and application and trial and error he put through, going to Toastmasters, going to conferences, rewiring his brain to become a fluent speaker. So he shared that all with me, and on the back of that, we created a series of online programs to help people overcome their own stutter. So the journey was tough, and we made it a goal to reach the 1% global population, so the 80 million people. And we knew how big of a challenge and how big of an ask this would be, but we're certainly up for it. And we're still working on that. Don't get me wrong, there's still a long way for us to go in terms of reaching every single person that stutters. But I know for a fact that we will get there and we will transform lives and continue to do so. So the key thing for us was to unlock what was in Mo's head. So we knew he had the tools, he had the skills, he had the knowledge and the experience to back up what was possible. So like I said, reaching 80 million people, that was the target. But the big question was how? How are we going to reach 80 million people worldwide? As you can appreciate, that's a big challenge. That's a big ask for any company, let alone a two-man team. So we had one of two ways to go about it. We could market our program through paid advertising, or we could do it organically. So there were obviously pros and cons to both, benefits and negatives to both. So ultimately we weighed both options up, and what we decided to do was to do things organically. Because we had this realization, if we wanted to go down the route of paid advertising to reach 80 million people, we're going to need some really deep pockets to be able to do that. Like we would have needed close to $1 million at the very least just to reach 80 million people. And at that point in time, it just was not doable. So we went down the route of organic marketing. And what we started doing was shooting and creating educational videos. So these videos, we would edit them, we would push them out to all these different social media platforms, but what we'd also do is repurpose them into different digital assets. So we'd repurpose them into short form videos, which would go to Facebook stories, Instagram stories, Twitter, IGTV, Snapchat stories, all these different platforms that focused on short form stories. And we had long form stories, long form videos as well. And the long form video itself was really the entire video being edited professionally. And when I say professionally, initially it was done by me. So I taught myself how to use Filmora, taught myself how to use iMovie, taught myself how to use all these different video editing software. And I became somewhat competent in it. We created graphics, we created images, we created infographics, again, using different pieces of software. We created blogs, we created articles, and we also created podcasts. All of this content we would then push out to different social media platforms to reach a wider audience, to cast a wider net. But there's a huge problem. So if we wanted to be on all of these different platforms, the LinkedIns, the Snapchats, the Flipboards, the Quoras, the Vimeos, the Scoops, the Facebooks, the Stitches, the SoundClouds, for every piece of content we created, it required time. And on average, what we were able to do was take one full unedited raw video, which is about 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 minutes, up to 10 minutes we worked on. Take that video and recreate and repurpose it into anywhere from 30 to 40 different pieces of unique content. As you can appreciate, that took time. It took a lot of time, in fact. But the key thing there as well was for every single piece of content to have some sort of call to action. So if it's a video, the end of the video having a call to action prompting the user to take some sort of guidance, some sort of action or guided action. Likewise with the blogs, with the social media posts, everything we did, it was basically to raise awareness, to build the brand. And it's called top of the funnel marketing, top level marketing. So that was key for our growth, is to have that call to action across each and every single content or piece of content we published, each post we created. But what we made sure that we did was to provide them with genuine value. So we created all of this free educational content. We built trust, we built credibility, we created a sense of authority with our audience. And really, we gave them a tremendous amount of value before ever asking for a single dollar, for ever asking for the sale. So we created the trust, we built rapport, we raised awareness, we built reputation, we created a sense of loyalty and a sense of a community before we ever asked them for any sort of purchase, any transaction. But the key problem was, like I mentioned earlier, it was so time consuming. In order for me to be able to create a video, repurpose the video, create graphics, write blogs, write articles, create the podcast, create all of this content, it could take me about 10 hours to do all of that, to create the 30 or 40 different pieces of content. And over the long term, it just was not sustainable. So what we decided to do was outsource these tasks. So we got quotes from local video production agencies, and the problem there was it was really costly. Like in Australia, I remember being quoted $2,500, so 2,500 AUD to edit a 5-minute video. Now, I don't know about you, but I just couldn't make sense of that. And someone else quoted me $450 for a 3-second logo animation. That's a lot of money. Now, not to diminish the value of what these video production agencies, editing agencies are capable of. Like, I'm sure they're really, really good at what they're doing, but I feel like that sort of investment requires deep pockets, and that just was not right for me. I couldn't make sense of an investment of that size. Like for $2,500 for a 5-minute video, I could hire someone for a month to work for me part-time. Now, again, these video agencies, production agencies, creation or editing agencies, I mean, they're good at what they do, and there's a reason that they charge those prices. But I personally just couldn't make sense of it. So the other thing we started looking at doing is freelancers, or working with freelancers. Now, initially we hired some freelancers and we made some awful errors. I've shame on me as well, because I've had previous dealings with freelancers where I've been burned as well. You can hire the wrong person. You can hire someone that on the face of it looks great. They're looking for a part-time role. They're looking for a full-time role, whatever it might be. Their CV might look fantastic, but when it came down to it and the performance, it just wasn't there. So we made some costly errors. We burnt some money hiring the wrong type of freelancers, but eventually we figured out a few things. And what it allowed me to do in particular, or us to do, was put in place a process that our team of freelancers could follow. So in other words, we had built a team of video editors, graphic designers, content writers, SEO experts, and graphic designers, that it got to a point where all we had to do was create and upload a 5-minute video, or up to 10 minutes, really. That's what we want to max out at. 5-minute video on average. That gets passed through to our team, and that team would recreate and repurpose it into about 30 to 40 different pieces of content. And they'd also manage the social media process and the engagement and the traffic building through social media. So it was a fine-tuned process. It was very streamlined, but importantly as well, it was done by experts. So me personally, I am not an expert. I don't profess to be. I'm very competent at it all, but certainly not an expert. And it makes a tremendous difference when we started outsourcing this work to the right people. So as we were creating all of this content and growing an online community and building a brand and trust and credibility, people started asking questions. So people started to notice and they started asking questions. So business owners, friends, entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, multi-level marketers, people that I've had dealings with in my previous role as a mortgage broker and in real estate, Mohammed, Mo, his experience in IT and real estate as well. They started asking us questions. How were we able to create all of this content, the videos, the graphics, the blogs, the podcasts? So we started to show them the process that we put in place and the team that we had built around ourselves. And we started helping them do the same. And there was really good success, really good feedback. And one day I was walking my dog, Jessie, as you can see, cutest dog in the world. And on these walks, I generally get some really good ideas. In this particular walk, I had a bit of an epiphany. I had this realization that Mo wasn't the only person in the world that had a unique and powerful message that needed to be shared with more people. So like I said earlier, I believe that everyone has a message, everyone has a story, a skill, or an experience that could help someone else. And I realized that. I spent several years working in the public events and corporate events industry where I had the pleasure of meeting with and working with and even studying a number of keynote speakers, motivational speakers, innovators, creative individuals. There were so many switched on people, thought leaders that I had the pleasure of dealing with, that I also knew that their message was so powerful, but it wasn't reaching enough people. So I had this epiphany. I thought to myself, well, we've got a process, we've got a team, and I know that there's so many other people out there that could benefit and leverage what we're doing and what we're trying to do. So we got talking, Mo and I, and we come up with the notion and the whole idea of 96.4 Digital. And 96.4 Digital, what it is really, it's we will create 96% of your content with your 4% of input. So in other words, you'll spend 4% of your working day, which is about 15 minutes, and we will spend the rest of that day or the rest of the time, the 96% of the time, creating the content, engaging with an audience, building a community, and helping you drive traffic, helping you drive awareness to your message, to your products, to your services, and ultimately allowing you to help more people and serve more people. As we were having this discussion about what the plans were for 96.4 Digital, we had a really big goal. And now that I think about it, it's probably a small goal, but on the face of it and at the time, we thought to ourselves, well, let's aim to impact 1 billion people. So billion with a B. So the way that works and what that means is we want to work with a number of, or really a handful of clients that have such an extraordinary message, a powerful, unique message that needs to be heard by the hundreds of thousands and the millions of individuals. So we know that if we can get a dozen or 24 highly engaging, highly creative individuals that have such a unique message or such a powerful message to educate an audience, to transform the lives of an audience, they're the people we want to be working with. They're the people we want to help serve an audience so we can reach the 1 billion people that we plan to reach. Now, we knew that to do this, to help these individuals impact the millions of people that they wanted to impact and could impact, we could show them our process, we could show them a team, but at the end of the day, they would still have to go out and do this on their own. So we wanted to make it as easy for them to be able to leverage our team, to be able to leverage our process. And on the flip side of that, those of you and those individuals that don't want to leverage our team, that's okay. I still want you guys to learn our process, to learn what we're doing, all the mistakes we've made, how we built a team of expert freelancers around the world at really what is a fraction of the price that you'd pay for anyone else in the world ever. So there's not going to be a cheaper way to go about doing this. So as you can see, our mission is to help individuals that have a unique and powerful message, share that message and transform lives. And the way we go about doing that is through content marketing, as I mentioned. So if you look at guys like Tony Robbins, Gary Vaynerchuk, or Gary Vee, GC, Grant Cardone, and even Australian Cool and Ray, you probably know all of them. And the reason you know all of them is that because they're everywhere. Everywhere you look, you see them. You see their content, you see their podcasts, you see their videos, you read their blogs, you see their quotes. You literally cannot go anywhere in social media or any social media platform without coming across these guys. It's something that Grant Cardone calls omnipresence, being seen and known by everyone. And content, as you know, is king. So if you aren't producing content, if you aren't being seen, you're going to become irrelevant. Now, the guys that I mentioned, the Gary V's, the GCs, the Grant Cardones, Tony Robbins, Kerwin Ray, how do they do it? Good question. Well, simple. They've got a really big back-end team that does all of this for them. They take the one long-form video, the 10-minute video, or in a lot of cases, their videos might be longer than 10 minutes. They might have a keynote presentation, so 45, 60, or even 90-minute presentation in front of an audience. They take that video, they edit that video, they recreate it and repurpose it into dozens and dozens and dozens of different pieces of content, which they can then use across different platforms. And that's exactly what you want to be doing as well. Because the reality is the quickest way to succeed, to grab attention, isn't by reinventing the wheel. There's no need to reinvent the wheel. All you've got to do is look at what someone else is doing and just copy what they're doing, just model what they're doing. And very likely you will get the same results or very similar results. So if you want to get attention, grab attention like Gary Vaynerchuk does, or like Grant Cardone does, or like anyone that you admire or that you know of that's built a brand, just follow what they do, model what they do, and you'll likely get the exact same results. All right, so if you want to, let's get into it. Now, the very first thing you want to do is you want to capture attention. So irrespective of what type of content marketing or marketing in general that you're doing, you've got to capture people's attention. So when it comes to producing videos, and in particular shooting and creating a video, you got to create people's attention because, and the way you do that is either by entertaining them or by using pattern interrupts. So your content, whether it's a video, a graphic, a blog, your content needs to be a thumb stopper. So you, as people are scrolling, as they're scrolling through the Facebook, through the Twitter, through Instagram, you gotta capture their attention so they actually stop and pay attention to what you have to say and what you have to share. So that's the very first thing you need to do. And you want to give them value immediately. So if you're trying to drag things out, sell to them straight away, it's not going to work. The very first thing you want to do is give them value. So give them something valuable that they can take away straight away and that they want to keep listening, or they want to keep watching, and because of it, they want to keep reading, whatever it might be. Like, you want to capture their attention and give value straight away. Otherwise, you're going to lose them. If you don't capture their attention, they're not going to see you. They're not going to know who you are. They're not going to know your message or what you have to teach them or show them. And if you don't give them value straight away, they're just going to say, see you later. And they're going to keep going down. They're going to keep scrolling down. So when you're creating this content, keep in mind, people go online for one of two things. They either go online to be entertained or they go online to be educated. So when you're creating your content, bear that in mind. People aren't going on social media. They're not going online at all to be sold. That is nobody goes onto Facebook to see what kind of ads are popping up. What can they buy? They go there to be kept in touch with friends, to be entertained, to see videos, to watch videos, to be entertained, or they go online because they have an issue, they have a question that needs to be answered. So when it comes to creating the content and creating your topics for your content, think about what questions are you answering? What problems are you solving? So if you're there to educate your audience, which most of you would be, what questions are you answering? What problems are you solving? Like, is there a need to create your content? Like, if you're creating a video on something that no one cares about, or no one has an issue about, no one's asking those questions, or no one has that problem, then no one's going to pay attention to what you have to say. So you want to make sure that you're answering questions that people are actually asking, and you're solving problems that people have, people actually have genuine problems and they're looking for solutions. So the way you can go about doing that is by taking advantage of Yoast, taking advantage of Keyword Planner, Google Keyword Planner, and also a website called Answer the Public. So Answer the Public is a really, really useful website, and you can use it for free as well, the sort of the basic version. What it allows you to do is simply type in a keyword. So in this example, I've typed in motivation, as you can see there. And the response and what you'll actually get is a list or a breakdown of all of the questions people are asking with the keyword motivation in there, or the most common ones anyway. So as you can see what questions they're asking, and there's probably about 200 or so questions in this image right in front of you. Now you can zoom in, obviously, when you're using the website. Right now I can't, but you can certainly zoom in to actually see what questions people are asking. And then what you can do is create content addressing and answering those questions. So for example, if someone's asking, how do I stay motivated? All you have to do then is create a video around that topic. How do you stay motivated? Or the title being, how do I stay motivated? So that is your topic. People are asking that question and you can help them by answering that question. So the three main steps to creating video content, I mentioned the first two already, is to entertain and educate, but the actual third step is to execute. So when it comes to executing, really there's two main steps. You got to plan your content and then create it, and then you've got to promote your content. You got to reach out to people, you got to connect with people. So they're your two main steps. And in content marketing, much like in paid advertising and even direct response marketing, the 80-20 rule applies. So 80-20 rule of content marketing is you want to spend 20% of your time planning and creating your content, and 80% of your time should be spent promoting it. Those are the numbers that you want to be working with. So for example, if you spend an hour a day creating content, then you want to spend 4 hours promoting that content. So whether that's through running paid ads, or whether that's through reaching out to influencers, or even applying Gary Vaynerchuk's or Gary V's $80 rule or $80 strategy. So if you don't know what that is, look it up. But in a nutshell, what it is you're reaching out on Twitter, on Instagram, to 10 most common hashtags in your line of work, so in your field. So type in, find the 10 most common or most niche hashtags that are being used, for example, in motivation. In that line of work, what are the 10 most frequent or most popular keywords, hashtags? And then what you're going to do is you're going to engage with 9 users, so 9 posts for each of them. So each day you'd be connecting and commenting on 90 different posts. So 90 different comments, 90 different engagements, and where you're providing your 2 cents. So it's really powerful, and it's probably the single best way you can go about it, growing a community organically. Now that said, it's obviously a time-consuming process, but you will be rewarded in the long term. Now, you got to remember, if no one can see your content, it may as well not be there. So if you're producing the content, but you're not promoting it, no one's ever going to see your content. You can spend 12 hours a day creating videos, 12 hours a day creating graphics and writing blogs, but if no one ever hears, watches, or listens, or reads your stuff, it may as well not be online. Like even Google, for crying out loud, would not care about what you have to say or what you're writing about if there's no authority, if no one's listening to it, if no one's sharing your content, if there are no websites sharing your content, or having backlinks back to your website, right? So if no one can see your stuff, it may as well not be there. Now you can probably tell that I'm quite a huge supporter of content marketing. And the reason for that is it just worked so well for me, for us, for Lifetime Fluency, and just helped change the lives of a lot of people. So you look at guys like Gary, guys like Grant, guys like Cohen, guys like Tony, they're obviously really good at creating content. They document what they do, they recreate, they repurpose, and that's why they get the revenue that they're getting, the hundreds of millions in revenue that they generate. It's because they've got attention, they've got credibility, they've built authority, and people want to work with them. People can see, all right, what these guys are doing, it's working. We want in, we want to be part of this. So if you can't tell already, look, there are great benefits involved in content marketing and content creation, greater brand recognition. People know who you are, they'll recognize you, much like you can recognize Gary Vee, Cohen Rain, all those guys. And if you don't know them, think about your Adidas's, your Nikes, your Mercedes, your BMWs. The reason you know that is because they're everywhere. You see them everywhere, right? Brand recognition, seen by everyone. Improves reputation. So if you're giving all of this content away for free, if you're educating people, if you're transforming lives, if you're really serving an audience and you're building a community, you're actually going to have clients defending you. You're going to have clients endorsing you. So if you're doing right, if you're getting the right attention and you're doing right by your audience, if you're doing right by your clients, your reputation is going to skyrocket. So improved customer loyalty as well. So research has actually showed that clients or customers that follow their brands online on social media, they are 40% or 40 to 60% more likely to repurchase from them rather than going to a competitor. So if you follow Nike, for example, on social media, odds are you're going to repurchase from them. So research has shown this. And again, like I said earlier, you don't want to reinvent the wheel. So you will get a better brand recognition and improved reputation, and your customer loyalty will improve. But not only that, you will become an authority. So you look at Grant Cardone and Gary Vee, Tony Robbins, the reason they are who they are, the reason they're respected is because they're seen everywhere, right? They're giving so much value. They're building so much rapport and trust with a huge audience, but they're also showing the world what they're capable of, what they can do, what their message is, what skills they have. And that's putting them on the spotlight as an authority. So if you look at Gary Vee, he's literally the epitome of content marketing authority. And the reason he does that is because he practices what he preaches. So if you're a financial planner, if you're a mortgage broker, like you want to be able to create a sense of demand and authority around you. And the way you can do that is by positioning yourself as someone that knows what they're talking about. So you can create the videos, you can create the articles, you can create the blogs, create the podcasts, and that once it starts getting shared on various websites and people start linking back to you, right, you become an authority. And again, going back to the whole credibility side of things, the trust, people can see you, they can see that you know what you're talking about, and they can build rapport with you. You might never ever meet these people, right? Maybe your staff will meet them if they ever become clients. But they might be on the other side of the world, and because you've positioned yourself so well, you've given so much value, they see you as someone they can trust, and they will listen to what you have to say. And if you've got a powerful enough message or a creative enough message or whatever it might be, transformative enough message, you can save someone's life. You can transform someone's life, right? But if they don't trust you, if they don't know who you are, that's never going to happen. Now, the third and final, well, not the third and final, probably the 15th and final benefit I've just mentioned there is money follows attention, right? Again, research has shown that the more people that know who you are, the more revenue you will generate. Now, that's a rule of thumb. Like if you have a really cheap product and you charge someone $1 a product or $1 a service, and that's your lifetime value of a client, but you're spending $50 to acquire that $1 client, you're going to be broke pretty soon. But for the most part of it, people that run a business, they run it with a margin, right? And if you can scale to a point where you're grabbing as much attention as possible, money will follow. So money follows attention. Write that down. A couple other benefits: an improved quality score by Google, YouTube, and other search engines, and also greater incoming traffic. So the more content you're producing, what you're actually doing is you're giving Google, you're giving YouTube, you're giving these other search engines work to do. So you're forcing them to index your site. They've got to crawl your site, they've got to index it. And as they're doing that, they're getting to understand who you are, what you're about, what message you're sharing, what content you're producing, what you're telling the audience, right? And if you create your content properly, if it's educational and it's SEO friendly as well, you're giving value, then you'll be rewarded by the search engines like Google and YouTube. And as you're rewarded, you're going to get natural organic traction. So natural organic growth through search engines. So in other words, you might create a post that's really, really powerful and SEO friendly, and that can start ranking on the first page of Google for the word motivation. So if someone types in how to stay motivated, you pop up. So you're going to get organic traction, organic leads, organic traffic to your website. And that's really powerful. So a lot of people don't realize this, but sites like Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, they're all auction sites. So what you're doing is you're bidding for people's attentions. YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, they're all free to use. And the reason that they're free for yourself as the user and even as the content creator, the publisher, is because YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, again, all these other social media platforms, they make their money by serving ads to your audience. So with YouTube in particular, if you can create content, video content that's on YouTube and that's engaging, you're going to be rewarded, because YouTube will reward you if your content has high retention. So in other words, if someone starts watching your video and actually follows through and watches the entire thing, they don't leave YouTube, they don't click out, they don't go to a different website, you'll be rewarded for that. But if your content is boring, if no one wants to watch your videos, no one wants to read your blogs, look at your graphics, then you'll also be penalized, because Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, again, all these different platforms, they're auction sites. So you will have to pay more to get your ad seen by the same amount of people if it's of poor quality. So if you have a poor quality video, poor quality ad, paid ad this is, right, you'll be penalized for it and you'll have to pay a higher price because, well, YouTube's not going to make money off you and they're going to make money off you somehow. So bear that in mind when you're creating your videos and writing and creating content. So again, if your content is boring, you will pay the price. Now, enough about that, enough about the benefits, the pros and the cons. What I want to talk to you about now is our process. So this is what you signed up for. This is why you're here. So let's get stuck into it. And look, if you haven't already gotten a pen and paper, now's the opportunity, now's the time. Grab a pen, grab a paper. All right, so go ahead and do that. So let's get stuck into it. So step one of our process requires you to have a content creation plan. So as the saying goes, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. Now, when I was starting out, I simply downloaded a calendar for 30 days on Microsoft Word, downloaded it, printed it out, and on the back of that, I created a plan. So basically every single day, what I was going to create, what the topic was, what I was going to talk about that day in front of a camera. So you want to have the same thing. You want to have a content creation plan. And just a tip around that, what you can do is you can actually cluster your content so it's based on related topics and related themes. So if, again, if let's just say you're a business coach, there's dozens and dozens of things you can talk about, various facets of business operations, of sales and marketing, of accounting, of customer service, whatever it might be. There's obviously a lot you can talk about. What you want to do is identify one theme. So for example, customer service. And once you identify that, identify in detail what questions are people asking about customer service. So for example, someone might be asking how to improve customer service, or what are some customer service software, for example, customer management software, customer relationship management software, or why is customer service important? You get the point, right? You can create questions and topics, question-based topics that are related to that certain topic or that certain theme. So plan it out. Plan out your next 30 days, all the topics, all the questions you'll be creating content around. And the other key thing is to make sure you respect your audience. So don't wing it. Make sure you know what you're talking about in your videos, because at the end of the day, what you're doing is you're going to be grabbing their attention, and that's an opportunity for you to sell yourself. So you can sell yourself on why you're absolutely phenomenal at what you do and why your message should be heard by them and why they should buy your product or service. And you can take that opportunity to do so. But on the flip side of that, if you do not respect your audience and you don't plan, you're going to lose the potential of that client. You're going to lose that opportunity. They're going to look at you and they're going to think, oh, this guy has no idea what he's talking about. He's unorganized. No chance I'm going to hand over money to become his client. So you might be the best person in the world at what you do, but unless you can convey that, you're not going to be seen that way. So make sure you respect your audience and actually plan what you're going to talk about, the points you have to raise, the questions you're going to answer, and don't waste people's time. That's critical. So when it comes to respecting your audience as well, make sure you respect them in the way of the asset you're delivering them. So what you say and how you say it's one thing. Obviously, you want to be entertaining and educating, but you also want to look professional. So use a decent camera. Smartphones are just fine, believe it or not. Most smartphones have 10 megapixel plus cameras on them, unless you've got a really outdated phone, but most people don't. So smartphones are perfectly fine. Invest in a lavalier microphone to begin with, and also a green screen. So if you have like an average office, or if you work from home and it's not the most appealing, it might be worthwhile investing $20-30 buying a green screen. I did that, and if you see some of my videos, it might look like I have this fancy office or that I'm in all these different fancy offices, but really that's just a green screen with the background inserted post-production video. Invest in some decent studio lights as well as a tripod. So unless you've got a cameraman, which I can't imagine you would, get yourself a tripod that will hold your camera and the other equipment I've mentioned. So for me, I bought all of this, and it literally cost me no more than $150 on Amazon. So if you go on Amazon, you'll see the bundles. I spent about $130 on the green screen, lavalier mic, studio lights, and another $20 or $30 on a tripod. So don't be shy. Invest in a little bit of equipment because you'll get your return on your investment. Assuming, of course, you actually go out and produce the content and make use of this equipment. Now, when you're shooting the video, there are a couple of points you want to keep in mind. So you want to keep your audience curious. So make them think about what's coming, what's next. So think about it like a soap opera. Whenever you watch a soap opera, they'll always leave you on a cliffhanger. So give your audience a sniff of what's to come and keep them wanting to learn more, wanting to hear more, wanting to watch more, right? So keep them curious, make them stick around to hear what you have to say in full. So 2 other things, be vulnerable and be authentic. Being vulnerable shows people that you are human. Like if anyone ever asks me about my history, my background, my stuff ups, my mistakes, my successes, like I say as it is, like I can be very vulnerable and very authentic, right? And if you can do the same thing in your videos, in your blogs, in your podcasts, whatever it might be, you will be rewarded for that, because I absolutely hate it. And you do too, probably, when you see someone that just looks perfect. You see, the picture perfect image, the picture or the sort of the frame perfect video. There's no there's no art, there's no stutter, there's no utterance. It's flawless. And then you got them telling you, it's possible to do what I do. It just doesn't come across as very realistic and very vulnerable, because we all know that no one's perfect. And like if I see someone that looks like they're perfect and they're presenting themselves as perfect and flawless, then I straight away red flags pop up, because I know no one's perfect. Like, yeah, you have some really good people, really creative, really confident people, successful people, but there's absolutely no one that's flawless. There's no one that's perfect. And if you can show people your vulnerability, like what your weaknesses are, what mistakes you've made, it's an opportunity for them to be able to connect with you, and an opportunity for you as well to build rapport with your audience. And the same thing applies with being authentic. don't be someone you're not. Don't pretend to be a millionaire or a billionaire if you've got a couple of dollars in your bank account or one property and claim to have 20 properties. That'll backfire. Like, there's a common saying, fake it till you make it. No, don't fake it till you make it. Be it. Be the person you want to be, and just be authentic to your audience. Don't pretend to be someone you're not, because you will pay the price. People these days can see straight through that. And with so much content online right now, so much social media, like if someone wanted to look you up online, they could very quickly Google your name and identify who you are, what you're about, the reviews you've had as a business owner, as a business person, or as a service, as a product, and they can quickly identify any flaws. And if what you're saying and what they're hearing externally doesn't match up, straight away you're done. They don't trust you anymore. You've lost that opportunity with them. So be upfront, be vulnerable, be authentic, and keep your audience curious. Now, by this point, as you've created a video, you've kept them curious, you're vulnerable, you're authentic, you've finished the video, and you've done well. You're entertaining and educational as well. When you're pushing this content out, and before you push it out, really, before you end your video, have a call to action. So if you're a mortgage broker, your call to action at the end of your video might be something like, so if you liked what you hear and you're looking at saving money and you want to have a conversation about refinancing or exploring your options to refinance and save some money, there's a button below. Click on the button below to book in an appointment to speak with myself. It's obligation free, and what we'll do is we'll explore all your options, and I'll be able to show you exactly what you can and can't do. And then from there, you can make your decision as to which direction you wanted to move in. Be clear, be concise with your call to action. So give them, even if you will think about it, give them baby steps. Don't overcomplicate it. Like I always keep it clean, keep it crisp, and have one step. So if you want to learn more about what we do, or if you want to sign up for our free training program, click on the button below, put your email in, and we'll send the course to you. So be clear about your call to action. Again, the other thing, as you can read there, spend some time on your call to action. So don't shy away from this. And much like I was saying a little earlier, when you're creating content and your video, respect your audience. So don't fluff your call to action. Be crystal clear, be concise, rehearse your call to action. Know what you're going to say. Don't just wing it, because if you wing it, you won't execute it properly. Like you might do okay, but I assure you, you'll do much better and have higher conversions at the end of your video if you've practiced on your call to action. And spend a little bit of time on it. So if your video goes for 5 minutes, you might want to spend the last 30 to 40 seconds on your call to action. So by this point, you've educated your audience, you've given them value, they've learned something from you, they trust you, you've built some sort of relationship and rapport with them. Now's your opportunity to sell them on why they should take the next step, whatever that is. So it's a free course, if it's a free ebook, if it's a newsletter, whatever your call to action is, if it's a free consultation or click to make an appointment, now's your opportunity, and you've earned the opportunity really to sell them on your call to action. So a quick tip, if at all possible, shoot your videos with 2 cameras using different angles. So as you can see here in the webinar or the screen in front of you, the gentleman that's recording, or that's being recorded, he's got his microphone, but he's also got a camera head on, so directly in front of him, and then a second camera, which is about on a 45-degree angle. So if you have the opportunity to get 2 cameras shooting you simultaneously or recording you simultaneously, do it. Because what it will do, it gives you a bit of a way out. So in other words, if you mess up on a specific line, or if you forget what you wanted to talk about, or you generally just mess up, it's a way for you to get out of that. So in the post-video production or post-production editing, what you can do in the time that you've messed up, So when you've uttered or you've started reading the wrong script or you've gone on a tangent, you can basically cut from one angle to the next. And to the naked eye, to the audience, it will appear fluent. So it won't appear as though you've done that because you've just messed up. It'll just feel free-flowing and natural. That's why you see it wherever you look online. Most videos that have high retention rates on YouTube, high engagement, they're splitting between different camera angles. So if you have two smartphones, one personal one, one work one, maybe get yourself two tripods and record them simultaneously. So if you're going to do that, you just want to be mindful of how you're going to record the audio. So do a bit of research on that. The lavalier mic, there are certain lavalier mics that can record, that can do this just fine. They can manage it and they can connect with both cameras or both phones. But just make sure if you're going to do that, you're prepared for it. And another tip as well, spend the first 5 to 10 seconds of your video explaining what your video is about. So by doing this, you're giving yourself really an opportunity to resell the audience on why they should stick around and watch. So a lot of videos out there, they're clickbait. So they have headlines that are irrelevant, descriptions that are irrelevant. All they're basically trying to do is get people's attentions, and they're not genuine in their purpose. So there's a lot of clickbait and people are just, quite frankly, fed up with it. So if your video, if your content is answering a question, spend your first 5 or 10 seconds or even 15, if you will, reinforcing what your video is going to do. So if, for example, it's going to show the audience how to stay motivated, your first 10 seconds might sound something like this. Hey guys, it's Alex here, and in this video, I'm going to show you 3 different techniques or strategies you can apply to your life right now to help you stay motivated. So stick around and I'll share with you exactly what you can do. Then you can transition to a logo and then you can crack on with your actual video content. So that itself will increase your audience retention because you're reinforcing what you're about, what you're going to educate the audience. And if you've answered the right question, or if you've done your research and SEO or your SEO optimization correctly, your audience should be looking for that answer. So your audience won't be finding your video unless they intentionally wanted to learn how to stay motivated. So they're not stumbling across it; they're intentionally looking for it. So again, if you've done your SEO right, if you've written your content right, you've done your tags, your keywords, your research correctly, you've optimized things correctly, so it just reinforces the opportunity and what the video is about. Key point there as well in terms of audience retention. I know I've mentioned it a few times there, but this is really, really important because YouTube will penalize you if you can't keep your audience's retention. Like literally the single most important factor in YouTube rankings. And YouTube, by the way, is the second biggest search engine in the world. So it's very similar to Google, but just obviously video based. So it's an opportunity for you to rank in that search engine, get more attention, reach more people. But the biggest factor in their algorithm is the retention rate. So it's not how many likes or how many views or how many subscribers you have, but how retained your audience is or how high the retention is. So you want to keep a high retention because that you'll be rewarded for that. Because realistically, what it does is it gives YouTube the opportunity to serve an ad on your website, or not your website, on your video. So if your audience is watching 3 seconds of your video and then clicking out and exiting YouTube, you'll be penalized because YouTube doesn't make money on it. And they don't want that. They want to make money. They're in business to make money. So keep a focus, or keep a high focus, I should say, on your audience retention, because that will be important. Cool. So once you've created your video, now we move on to editing the video. Now, editing your video, there's a couple of ways you can go about it. You can obviously do it yourself, like I did, but it is a very, very time-consuming process. You can hire an employee. If you're in Australia, let's just say you find someone working for you full-time on the average salary in Sydney, which is about 79 grand a year. That's very doable. You can have someone that shoots the videos with their camera or with a purpose-bought camera, and they can edit it for you. And that works perfectly fine. Lots of people do it. But just bear in mind the cost. You can hire an agency to do things for you on an ad hoc basis. So if you're going to create a video a week or a video a fortnight or a video a month, you probably don't need an employee. You could do it yourself. I mean, granted, you've got to invest the time, but you can look at the agencies as well. Just bear in mind, again, like I said, what that might cost you to do. So spend some time researching. And the other option is looking at engaging freelancers. So that's the route we went down. And there's local freelancers wherever you are in the world, and there's international freelancers, so offshore freelancers. And that's where we had both success and failures. So we got burnt, like I said, but we've also obviously built a team, a successful team around us that's very good at what they do. So whichever way you go about editing your videos, so whoever does it for you, whether it's you, an employee, an agency, or a freelancer, just make sure you do what's right for you. And so toss up the options, do a bit of research. Now, I'm going to go ahead and make the assumption that you want to do things yourself. If you're going to edit the video yourself, then you're going to have to worry about how you're going to do it. Obviously, time is one factor, but the other factor you want to consider is the software that you use. As well as that, you want to look at your hardware. If you have an outdated computer, an outdated laptop, it might take you some time to edit a video and then to render it. So just be mindful of that. But in terms of software, so I'm going to assume you have a fairly modern laptop or a fairly modern desktop computer. So there's a number of different programs you can use: Adobe, Filmora, or iMovie. And do not be afraid of investing in software. Like Adobe is roughly about $20 a month. Filmora, you can purchase a single license, lifetime license for $60. And that gives you all of their themes, all of their transitions, the program itself for one license. And iMovie, if you've got a MacBook, iMovie is actually one of the best video editing tools out there. And it's free. It's free, it's quick, it's powerful, it's full of tools. So use it. But again, don't be afraid. So if you don't have iMovie, then don't be afraid to invest a few dollars a month, or even the lifetime license in video editing software. So now that you've got your software, it's time to actually get stuck into it. A couple of elements you want to have in place as a structure for your video. So you want to have an intro. Your intro, look, honestly, the best way to create an intro is to look at somebody that's doing what you want to do. Look at the intro they use and then model that. I'm not saying steal their stuff. I'm saying look at how they've gone about creating it, how many scenes, how much audio, how loud's the audio, what type of audio, is there a logo, what have they done, and then model that. Same thing applies with an outro. So model whoever you want to be like. So you look at Gary Vaynerchuk, look at what he does, what his videos are like, the intros and the outros, and then you can model something like that. For the most part of it, I'd also encourage you to have some background music. So rather than it being just you talking, you can have a bit of a harmonic audio in the background to increase or improve entertainment factors, but also retention. But the key with the background music is to make sure there's no vocals. So if you have someone singing or rapping in the background, that's going to be very distracting for your audience, because you're talking and in the background someone's singing. It just doesn't work. But what you can do is you can actually base your selection on the audio based on the emotion you're trying to invoke, or the theme or the mood of the actual video itself. So think about action movies. So if there's an action movie, and in particular an action scene, you'll find that the actual music is very high pace, upbeat, high energy stuff, right? because it's supposed to be adrenaline raising, and it's supposed to give you that rush. It's invoking an emotion in you or from you. On the flip side of that, you look at a sort of a romantic scene in a movie. That's obviously going to be very different to an action scene. So try to align the audio component or the background music with the type of emotion that you're trying to invoke. So one thing I'd recommend, I see a lot of people spending a lot of time putting captions into their videos. I strongly suggest you don't burn your captions into the video. So you can get caption files, and I'll explain that in a couple of minutes. But you don't necessarily want to have captions permanently embedded or burned into the actual video itself. What I suggest rather you do is create lower third titles. So when you talk about a key point or you raise a key question in your video, that's when in the video editing component, you can have that question or that key point or that that subject or the 3 steps, the headline steps. You can have them on screen, so they pop up every 20 or 30 seconds, whatever it might be. And much like the purpose of putting music in there being to entertain and to increase retention, what you can do is add videos and graphics into the actual video itself as overlays or in between scenes. And that'll improve retention, that'll improve engagement levels, people be more interested. So rather than it being just your head in front of the camera talking for 10 minutes, it can still be your head in front of the camera for about 5 minutes of the time, and then 5 minutes of the time you're switching between yourself and a piece of video footage or a graphic that's relevant to what you're talking about. Now the key with this is to make sure you don't firstly steal music, don't steal videos or any audios or graphics as well. You can get sued. So especially when it comes to video, if you're stealing someone's video or even audio like music by artists, it's really common. People tend to steal other people's stuff without permission, and it's just not on. So if you get caught doing that, you can get sued, and you can get sued for quite a bit. So there are separate platforms you can subscribe to: Shutterstock, ArtGrid, Artlist, Audio Jungle, and Audio Library, for instance. Some of them will have free to use videos, free to use audio. We use ArtGrid and Artlist, and occasionally Audio Library as well. Audio Library, it is free for the most part of it. You can subscribe, but it is free for the most part, I believe. But ArtGrid and Artlist, look, they set us back about $500 for a year, and that's really nothing, because that gives us unlimited music, unlimited video stock, and images as well. So using ArtGrid, we can take images from videos. We can take still images out of those videos and use that as well. So invest in these platforms. If you're going to get the free stuff, make sure you give credit to the actual producer of that audio or the producer of the video. So key thing, don't steal content. Don't steal the audios or the videos. Another key note to jot down, I suppose, when you're exporting your finished video, just be mindful of the dimension requirements of the platform you'll be sharing this on. So different social media platforms will have different dimension requirements, and they'll also have different time duration limitations. So basically like a maximum time amount or maximum limit on time that you can add a video with. So in other words, like IGTV, for example, I believe the maximum is 10 minutes. Whereas, Twitter, for instance, I believe it's 140 seconds, it might be. So it's much shorter. Point is, be mindful of the dimension requirements, but also the duration limitations. So that's going to also have a great impact on the amount of people that click to watch your video. Because if you export a video that's in a different dimension than what's required. So for example, if you export a video that's suitable for Facebook and you try to upload it to Twitter, you'll actually find that the thumbnail or what people see when you post it on Twitter, the actual image itself very likely will be cut off. So if you have a headline or a title that's your thumbnail, I made this mistake once or twice, and I realized, oh wow, that it really doesn't work. So what happens is the dimensions are completely different. So half of the screen or half of the thumbnail isn't visible. And that's going to have an impact on how many people click on your stuff and click on your content, because they're going to look at it and they're going to think, oh, this is amateur hour. I'm not really interested. Or if they can't even see what it's about, then they're not going to click to learn more about it, are they? So just be mindful of that. So when it comes to it, or comes down to it, if you don't want to do this yourself, because it can be a very time-consuming process, you got to ask yourself, who's going to do this for me? Am I going to hire an in-house employee? Are they going to be part-time? Are they going to be casual? Are they going to be full-time? Are they going to be a contractor, like a self-employed freelance contractor? Am I going to hire an outsourced agency? Are they going to be local? Are they going to be overseas? Or am I just going to work with a freelancer? If I do work with a freelancer, where am I going to find the freelancer? You can use freelancer.com, you can use Upwork, you can use Fiverr. There's a dime a dozen of these platforms. Again, just be mindful who you hire, and also how long it might take you to actually find the right person. Like I said, I've been burnt before. I don't want you to be burnt. So just be mindful. If you're going to hire someone externally, if you're going to hire even an employee, do a check on them. If you're going to hire a freelancer on your payroll, do a check on them. Maybe you can give them a trial run. So before committing to someone for the long term, maybe you can arrange a trial with them for a week. And in that week, you can assess how much content they can create for you, how many videos they can edit, what the quality is like, how it's like dealing with them. So maybe you can analyze data, and then on the back of that week-long trial, you can say to yourself, or say to them, yeah, this is not the right fit, or I'd love to carry on working with you. So just bear that in mind. There's a couple of factors when it comes to hiring an employee, an agency, or a freelancer. So just toss them up. Toss up what's right for you, what's wrong for you, what are the pros, what are the cons. Do not jump straight into it. People will try to, unfortunately, people will try to rip you off if they can. So just be prepared for it. And I know that might come across as skeptical, but believe you me, people are like that, unfortunately. And you don't want to get caught out like I did. Like I lost about, to be honest, close to about 10 grand Australian working with different freelancers and even offshore staffing agencies that locked me up into long-term contracts and really didn't do anything for me and didn't let me cancel because they locked me into a long-term contract. And it just never worked out as it should have and as it could have. So just be mindful of that. So I mentioned earlier not to burn captions into your video. So not to permanently embed them into the video. And creating captions, there's a couple of things you can do. You can do it yourself in order to create them. Personally, we have a staff member that does it for us, so you can have the same thing. So you can use sites like Rev or Y Translator. Both are really good, and both are actually somewhat different. So Rev will give you access to people. So an actual person somewhere around the world will listen to what you're saying. And for $1 per audio minute, they will actually transcribe that for you, and they'll provide you with an SRT file. So that's really cool. For $1 a minute, for $1 a minute, for $5, you can get a SRT file that's going to be 99% accurate. So that's pretty cool. Good investment if you ask me. Downside to that is it takes a bit of time, like 24 to 48 hours typically. So if you need something quicker than that, then what you can look at doing is using Rev AI or Y Translator. So we've used both, and Google as well has an API or a platform called Google Speech to Text. Works very similar, artificial intelligence that actually transcribes your content, transcribes your audio, so you can do the same thing. So Rev AI, I believe, is 3 cents per audio minute, and Y Translator is about 10 cents per audio minute. and they'll give you results that are, well, firstly created within about 5 minutes. So if it's a 5-minute video, you'll actually get the caption file sorted within 3 or 4 minutes. So it'll be there and there for you. But what you'll then do, because it will be about 88 to 95% accurate, depending on the quality of the audio itself, what you will want to do is go over that caption file manually. So we've got a staff member that does that for us, and we are quite fortunate. But what they'll then do is just watch the video in alignment with the going through with the captions, and then they'll make the captions effectively 99% accurate. So it's quite a time saver for us. That's where you use the artificial intelligence. And if you don't know, an SRT file is basically a text file that has timestamps. So in other words, when you're saying certain words, and then when you pause, the SRT file has that timing noted in it. So what it does do, it allows you to upload the actual file to your video hosting platform, whether it be Facebook or YouTube or Vimeo or whatever it might be. You can upload the actual caption file, the SRT file, and that gives your audience the option to actually decide whether or not they want to see the captions. So rather than burning captions into the video and forcing everyone to see it, you can get those captions uploaded to the platform that you're on, and that actually gives your audience the option to choose whether or not they want those captions. So the other thing, and I mentioned Rev AI, Rev Y Translator, but the other thing you can potentially look at doing is finding transcriptionists through LinkedIn. So I had a bit of an idea with this. I sort of, again, just stumbled into it. But with LinkedIn, obviously you can, as you probably know, you can search for people based on their job title, and also where they work. So what I did was I looked for all the people, I looked for the employees of Rev, and I think there were hundreds of people, if not thousands, of transcriptionists. And as I mentioned earlier, Rev charges $1 per audio file minute. But what you can do is actually approach these transcriptionists that work for Rev and offer to work with them off of the platform. So I did that once, and it was only for one small project, and I haven't actually used it since, just because we're using AI now, and again, we're fortunate enough to have a staff member work with us in-house. But basically, you can hire a transcriptionist, and I did that and got quoted 90 cents per audio minute. So a 10% discount, nothing groundbreaking, but if you're going to create 1,000 minutes a week or 1,000 minutes a year even, that builds up bit by bit. It certainly builds up. So just get creative, and you could probably negotiate that to be better than 90 cents. Because I know the contractors that work for Rev, because all of the transcriptionists are contractors, and I know Rev pays them about 50 cents per audio minute. So you can probably negotiate a little bit on that. So just to summarize, this is our process. We'll take advantage of an artificial intelligence program like Y Translator or Rev AI, or even Google's platform. We'll create a caption file that's 88 to 95% accurate. Our content writer, so our team member, edits the captions to create something closer to the 99% mark, or as close to 100% as possible. And then we export that as an SRT file, which we can then use to upload to the video hosting platforms we're on. Now that leads me to the next section of the training, and that's creating written content. So written content is obviously going to be critical, because you're going to need copy on Facebook, on LinkedIn, or Instagram to marry up and align with the actual content of your video. You're going to have to write the blogs, the articles, the descriptions to your videos, headlines, titles, so on and so forth. So there's obviously a lot of written content you're going to have to come up with. And what you can do is you can actually use the captions that you've just created as a base for creating written content in the form of blogs, articles, and also the copy for social media. So what you want to make sure you do, however, is ensure your content is always SEO friendly. So if you've done your research, you will make sure that you know your keywords, your headline and your titles are SEO friendly, and I'll touch on that in a second, how to actually make that SEO friendly. But you want to make sure that your written content throughout is full of keywords and it's relevant to what you're talking about and what the audience is looking for as well. Before I go into SEO, one of the reasons why we have our content writer edit the captions directly, obviously there's a benefit in the way of more accurate captions for our audience, but what it also does is our content writer is going to be the person that writes the blogs and the articles and the copy for social media, right? So we want to make sure that he or she knows what the video is about. And by them creating the captions or editing the captions as they watch the video, they will have a really strong understanding of what the video is about, the messages, the emotions invoked, what the theme is, what the educational piece is, what the takeaway is, just by editing the captions. So they've watched the video as they edit the captions, and by the end of it, they know straight away what they're going to write about. So they understand that, they know what needs to be done, and they can crack on with actually getting stuck into the work. So rather than having to go back in, watch the videos over and over again, or once or twice, they will have already watched it. So it's kind of two birds, one stone sort of thing. Now, when it comes to SEO, first and foremost, I'm not an expert. I'm not an SEO guy. I know basics. I understand the importance of it, but I am not an expert. Fortunately, we have a team member, or two team members now, that are SEO experts. They work for us and for our clients as well. But I do know the basics. So I've taught myself the basics. And it was actually important for me to understand this, not only for the application of it myself. Obviously, if I'm going to do SEO on our own website, our own blogs, I want to do it right. But also when it comes to hiring people and freelancers in particular, like I said, you can get a lot of pretenders, you can get a lot of amateurs that pretend like they know what SEO is and how to go about optimizing for search engines and for social media platforms. But when it comes down to actually performing it and doing it, they might under-deliver. So that was a huge benefit for me because it was really useful when it comes to interviewing people. Now you could do the same. You can hire an SEO expert, or you can hire someone to run SEO for you. And I'll touch on that in a second. But a couple of things, if you are going to do it yourself, a couple of elements that you want to make sure you do. So, make sure you incorporate. Make sure the content has good readability. So that's basically the flow of your content. Make sure it's readable. Make sure it's not too long. Make sure that it's grammatically sound, structurally sound as well. And there's certain programs you can sign up for, and some free ones as well, that will actually review your blogs, review your articles, and give you a readability score. So Yoast has it's called Yoast SEO. There's a free version of it you can use, and you can embed that as a plugin if you have a WordPress site. That's what we use, and it'll give you a readability score. So read through your article or your blog or your post, and it'll tell you this is terrible or this is really good. Either way, it'll give you suggestions on how you can improve. So make sure you've got dedicated headings, and you can, if you've ever created a blog yourself, you very likely know what a heading is. A H1 tag, a H2 tag for subheadings. Throughout your articles, throughout your content, make sure you have images and graphics, but also make sure those files, so when you're creating a graphic, make sure that graphic is saved with relevant keywords. So going back to my example around motivation, how to stay motivated, if you're going to create a graphic that will be used for a blog on motivation, right? What you can do is you can create your graphic, but as you export it, as you save it, make sure you save it as how to stay motivated. So basically using the keywords. So same thing with the meta description. You want to use your keywords there, but make sure it's concise and clear. Again, keywords throughout the actual content, throughout the actual written content, and even the audio content as well, because search engines can understand what your audio is about. The title and the slug. So the slug is basically what comes after your URL. So in our case, for example, Lifetime Fluency, which is our other business, it's lifetimefluency.com/how to control your stutter, for instance. So the how to control your stutter is the slug, and that's going to be really important as well. Now, like I said, SEO, I'm not the strongest in, it's not my expertise. But if you do want more tips and training on SEO, there's a guy that I highly suggest, Neil Patel. He's got a lot of free content that you can take advantage of on his website. And look, if you ever want to work with an SEO agency, type in SEO agency, and whoever comes on first, whoever appears on Google first, that's the person you want to be working with. Because if they're an SEO agency, you want the best person. You might not want the best, assuming you can afford them, of course. But if someone can rank themselves on the first page of Google for SEO, which is probably one of the toughest things to do ever, because you're supposedly competing with SEO experts, then they're probably the right person to be working with. On the flip side of that, you probably don't want to work with someone that's running paid ads. Don't get me wrong, there's an element to it. There might be a new startup. Don't diminish the opportunity, don't dismiss the opportunity, but certainly if you can find someone that's organically ranked on the first page of Google for SEO, it's probably a good person to work with. So Neil Patel, I know he offers that as a service, and like I said, he offers a lot of free training and free content. So if you do want to do it yourself, you can study through him and apply your learnings straight away. So for the sake of SEO as well, because we are talking about videos predominantly as well, the video file needs to be optimized for SEO too. So when you export your video, you want to make sure you save it with a relevant keyword. So what the actual video is about. Don't just save it as untitled one and uploaded it to your databases or to your platforms as untitled one. It's not going to do you any good. Again, going back to the example of how to stay motivated, you can use that as the keyword or as the keyword phrase. How to stay motivated video, and that's your file name. So on the actual platforms, you can include descriptions, and you'll want to actually include descriptions because again, it'll allow search engines to understand what you're all about, what your video is about, as well as your audience. And that's gonna you'll be rewarded for it by writing a detailed description that's informative but also reflective of what the actual video is about. Links and call to actions, again in the description. So basically what you've done by this point, just to clarify, if you're getting someone to watch your video, you're giving them value, you have your call to action at the end, but someone might want to take action before then. If it's a 10-minute video, you don't necessarily want to have to force someone to wait 10 minutes before they can see what they can do. So in the descriptions, what you can do is put outbound links to your call to action, and irrespective, you'll have that there, but make sure it's there. So provide the opportunity for your audience to have that call to action, and have that outbound link to whatever your landing page is. So your landing page might be to access a free course, to access a free ebook. So that's where you want to have it. And again, YouTube video, YouTube, Vimeo, all these other platforms, they'll allow you to include keywords and tags. So make sure you're taking advantage of them and make sure you're using the correct keywords, the correct tags that people are searching for, and that relate to the actual video. Don't use keywords that are completely irrelevant, because you will be penalized for that. So when it comes to keywords and tags, I've got a bit of a sneaky hack for you. So there's software that allows you to do this as well, and you'll see it in the next screen. But for example, if you want to know what your competitor or your competitor's video is using as keywords, what you can actually do is go into the developer tools. So depending on what what software you use or what operating system you use, whether it's Mac OS or iOS or Windows, if you go to your browser, the search function in the browser, or go to developer tools. So I believe it's View Developer Tools. You'll be taken to a page like this, as you can see on the screen, which which is basically the source code. And if you hit Control F or Command F to hit the search function when you're on this page, and type the word keywords. So you can see it on the screen, it's highlighted. As you can see on your screen right now, all the words following keywords, that's what this particular competitor of yours, so for example, Time, whoever's created this video, Motiversity, they're the keywords that are being used, the tags that are being used for this particular video. So you can see motivation, you can see time motivational video, Motiversity, stop wasting your life, stop wasting time. All of those are keywords that this particular publisher has used to get people's attention to be ranked. So a hack, you can look at using the same thing. You might have your own keywords. You might have unique keywords. You might have no keywords, right? But by doing this, you might be able to pick up one or two ideas that you might not have thought about, something unique that taps into a niche market. So just going back to what I said earlier, there's different software you can use for this. I've personally never used this, but I've heard good things about it. I've read reviews, Viduli and vidIQ. So these platforms allow you to basically research your competitors' keywords. So it's pretty nifty, pretty useful. Or as I just demonstrated a second ago, within a couple of clicks, you can actually find out what your competitors are using as keywords. Now, odds are, if you're going to be creating these videos, which I imagine you would be, you're going to be uploading your content to YouTube. So there's a couple of key things with YouTube, and I touched on it a little bit earlier. Retention of your audience is the single most important factor when it comes to ranking and YouTube's algorithm. So make sure you're entertaining and educating. Make sure you've got your intros and your outros, as I've mentioned. But with that said, YouTube allows you to add something called end screens. So end screens are basically little cards, as part of the end screens, you can add little cards which prompt the audience, prompt your viewer to click onto your next video. So with about 10 seconds to go on your video, what you can do is you can add the end screen with the cards to promote your next video. So if you have a video, for example, that closely aligns to this particular video and the topic you're just talking about, which if you followed a content creation plan and you've clustered your content appropriately, you should have plenty of this. What you can do, for example, is you can create a playlist on YouTube, and that playlist will be around a certain theme. So going back to what I was saying earlier, if you're a small business coach or a business mentor, and this particular week you want to create content around accounting practices or sales and marketing strategies, right? You can create a playlist for sales strategies. You can create a separate playlist for marketing strategies, separate playlist for customer service strategies. And what that allows you to do is, so with the cards, you can keep people on your channel. So you don't want them necessarily to be going off your channel, off your videos and looking at competitors. So these cards allow you to keep control of the direction of their movement. So the process that they're going through, the funnel that they're going through. And you'll be rewarded for that again. Because if that person doesn't follow through with what your call to action is, and then after your video he goes to competitors, you might have lost him. But if after your video he sees the end card and clicks on that end card and goes to a different video that is still yours, he might then be prompted again for your call to action. He might take you up on it. So for some people, it might take them several times to actually see and hear what you're about, to trust you and before ever buying from you or even taking advantage of something for free. So just be mindful of that. And that's where these playlists and end cards can come into play. Once you have enough subscribers as well, I believe it's 1,000 subscribers. Firstly, you can monetize on your channel, but secondly, you can also add links, little pop-up links throughout your video. So you've probably seen this a number of times if you are on YouTube or spend any time on YouTube. If there's a very, very popular video, there might be educational, might be motivational, whatever it is, and it's sort of lengthy in nature, 10 minutes plus, odds are there's going to be links that pop up throughout the actual video, prompting you to click out of the video and are taken to a landing page. So once you have enough subscribers, you can do the same thing, and it's really powerful. So where a lot of people get it wrong is the first impression they create. So the very first impression you'll create is with your thumbnail. So your thumbnail basically is people are scrolling down their feed or YouTube or Facebook or Twitter, whatever. Your video is not just going to start playing automatically, unless you've set it up like that on YouTube, for example. But on Facebook. If you're on YouTube, for example, what's going to happen is if someone searches for your keywords, you might have done everything right. You might have created a really good video. You might have created the caption file, done your keywords, your tags, your descriptions correctly, your title correctly, all of that. But the very first thing people will see was actually your thumbnail. So your thumbnail, where a lot of people get it wrong, is that they actually just use a still image. So basically a frame or a screenshot, if you will, of the actual video. That's a big no-no because it's not very appealing compared to a custom thumbnail. So do not use a image from the actual video. Spend a bit of time on creating a thumbnail because that can actually make or break your video, believe it or not. So when it comes to actual thumbnail, you want to have, if possible at all, an image of the presenter. So if that's yourself, have a transparent background image of you. Make it engaging, make it colorful, and also have the title of your video. So the title of the video, again, it's going to reinforce to the audience why they should watch your particular video, because it's going to answer this question or it's going to show them this. So make sure you've got those couple of elements on the actual thumbnail. So you might be thinking, how do I create a thumbnail? Cool, good question. Canva and Thumbnail Blaster. So Thumbnail Blaster, you can literally create a thumbnail within 3 clicks of a button. Now with 3 clicks, it's not going to be the best one, the most engaging, but it'll just be generated from your headline, so your title, and also a automatically generated template, but it's 3 clicks. You can't expect perfection with about 5 seconds of work. So that's a software you can buy for about $30, give or take, lifetime license. So pretty useful. And what you do is you connect it to your YouTube channel, and you can actually also go back to your old videos that don't have a thumbnail and mass produce thumbnails. So it'll connect to your YouTube channel, and then you can just create in mass thumbnails. Maybe you have to amend the dimension, not the dimension, sorry, but the sizing of the text, or the actual text itself, or the logo, or the headshot that's on there, or whatever it is. You might play around with it a little bit, but it's a quick way to catch up on thumbnails for videos you previously haven't created thumbnails for. And Canva, so I mentioned Canva a little earlier. Canva is really powerful. It's about $15 a month, maybe $10 US, so whatever that converts to in your currency. For the professional version, you can get a free version, free for life, though it is limited in functionality, but there is no watermark either. So it's pretty good. Like, it's free. Yeah, come on, guys. Like, what do you expect, right? So with the paid version for $10 a month, $15 a month, you're getting access to millions of stock images, graphics, infographics, templates, and literally you can create a thumbnail within about 5 minutes. You might have to play around with it a bit, but yeah, it's really, really powerful stuff, really quick, really cheap, but very, very useful. And importantly as well, it will look very professional. One of the other benefits of Canva, as I mentioned, it's not expensive, it's easy to use, but it also allows you to very quickly resize images for different social media platforms. So if you're creating a thumbnail for your video, you can actually resize that thumbnail and then be able to use it for Facebook. So if you want to use it for a Facebook post, or vice versa, if you want to use a Facebook post as a thumbnail for Canva, or if you have a Facebook graphic that you've just created and you want to resize it for Twitter, or you want to resize it for LinkedIn, or you want to use it as your Facebook cover, you get the point. You can resize it with literally, I think it was two or three clicks of a button. Again, you're going to have to play around with the location of the text once it is resized, because it can come off a little skewered and might not look as good when it's resized, but it's certainly very quick, very easy, and very professional looking. Much like with the video editing, the SEO, the content writing, everything I've mentioned so far, your graphic design, there's a couple of options for you to actually do this. Again, you can do it yourself, but if you don't want to do it yourself, if you don't have the time or the willpower, you can hire an in-house graphic designer, you can hire an agency, you can hire a freelancer. Again, just be mindful of the cost, whichever way you go about it, but also be mindful of who you're hiring and how long it will take you to find that right person. So again, just crunch your numbers, do what's best for you, but just be mindful of that. So given the scope of what we do, the clients we work with, and the work we do for ourselves with Lifetime Fluency and the content we produce, we're fortunate enough where we're in a position to have been able to hire several freelancers across the world. They're all experienced, they're all creative, they're all skilled, and they all work for us on payroll full time. Something I didn't go into too much detail about so far is virtual staffing agencies. So this is basically where someone starts a company, they have an office, they have a building or an office building, and then they will pitch you on the idea of offshoring some of your tasks and some of your roles to their country, really. For example, India, Philippines, Serbia, where we've got a couple of staff members, all around the world. Literally every country almost will have a virtual staffing agency. And basically, they will provide the office for your staff member. They will provide a computer and software and everything that's needed for your staff member to work. They will also typically provide a supervisor or manager that will manage or supervise your employee. So it can be very good. So they'll help you with recruiting people. They'll review CVs with you. There's a couple of downsides to this. They will very likely want to get you in on have you sign up for a long-term contract, which can be a bit of a turn-off and quite a long commitment, quite a big commitment, especially if it's your first time, and you might get a bad employee, or it might not be where you expect it to be. There's no way out. But that aside, there is a talent management fee that you'll typically pay. And I know this because I've done this myself. So a couple of years ago in a previous business I ran, I dealt with a virtual staffing agency offshore in the Philippines. And I actually had two staff members working for me as marketing assistants, so virtual marketing assistants. And I was paying them about $800 Australian per month on a full-time basis. But the problem was, for them, the salary, they were happy with that relative to other individuals in the country. In Philippines, that was a high income, and the cost of living is obviously substantially less than it is in Sydney. So I was happy to fork that out. But the only issue I saw with that is the actual talent management fee. I was paying $1,000 approximately per month per client. So 1,000 plus 1,000 plus two salaries of 800. As you can see there, I was paying more for the talent management fee than I was for the actual wages or the salary for the employee, which didn't really align with my values. I did leave that, and it left a bit of a sour experience in my tongue, because I'd signed up for a 12-month contract, and I did want to leave early because the actual staff weren't the greatest, and it was challenging to leave, and quite frankly, they didn't let me leave unless I paid out the contract. So I lost several thousand there, unfortunately. So to summarize, when it comes to graphic design and figuring out how you're going to go about designing your images and your custom graphics, consider your budget, consider your needs before you do decide which route you want to take. Now that you've got your videos, now that you've got your graphics, and you also have your content written as well, now it's time to create a podcast. So the way you go about this, and having an audio engineer will help with this, or a podcast editing expert, which you can find some freelancers that do specialize in that, and it's quite niche. But you export your audio from your video file. You want to have created an RSS feed on your website. So basically your RSS feed is, for in layman's term, what it does is basically it sends a message to any external platform connected to your feed. So in this case, your podcast accounts. So what you do is you connect your podcast accounts to your website's RSS feed. And then as you upload your audio files to your website, which you can do and which you will do, your RSS feed will send a notification or ping your podcast account and let your podcast account know that there's new audio content, there's a new podcast available. So automatically your podcast account will actually update. So it's really useful. But what you want to make sure you're doing, so you don't necessarily want podcasts everywhere. Like I'd like to guess there's probably hundreds of different podcast account platforms. And you don't necessarily want that. Obviously you want to cast a wide net, but it might be having it too wide is not going to get you anywhere, especially if it's the wrong audience. So make sure you know where your audience is, and that's where you want your podcast to be. So typically podcast platforms and accounts, they're free. So again, the podcast, very much like YouTube and Facebook, they get paid by serving ads to your audience. So if you can give them content that's engaging and keeps people listening to your stuff on their platform, they can serve them ad and you actually get rewarded for that. So make sure you are set up with the right platform and it is connected to the RSS feed on your website. So I want to run through this, but it's very similar in nature to the videos. The title of the podcast file needs to be keyword friendly. The descriptions, they also need to explain what the podcast is about. You want to have links and call to actions in your actual description. Otherwise, you're giving them value, you're giving them a call to action on the audio, but then there's nowhere for them to actually be guided. There's no link for them to actually click on. And some of them might be excited to follow through with what you offer. They might not have that opportunity unless you have your description with the link in it. And again, same thing with videos as is with the podcast. Create a custom graphic for the podcast. It'll make your content, make your podcast more engaging. And odds are it'll increase your click-through rate as well. Now that we've got all this done, so now that you've got your videos created, exported, short-form videos created, your podcast is set up, your blogs and articles are set up, your graphics are created, now you got to reach your audience, right? And the first question you want to ask yourself is, where does your audience, where does your avatar spend their time? Because where they spend their time is where you want to be. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, LinkedIn, they all have different audiences based on age groups, based on experience, based on what profession they're in. Different audiences will obviously spend different amounts of time on different social media platforms. So identify where your avatar is. That's where you want to be. Now, to upload your content, you can do it one of two ways. Either manually, so you or someone that works for you, freelancer or an employee, they can access your accounts and upload the content for you. Or you can use social media management software that will assist you to do this. So if you look at the screen, all these pieces of software, Buffer, Hootsuite, Zoho, and so on and so forth, they allow you to schedule posts that will reach your audience at a future date. So rather than you having to manually go into each and every account and publish a post at that time, or even schedule it manually. You can do it from one central portal. You can schedule your stuff. You can create the content, the titles, the descriptions, upload your videos, upload your graphics, have your call to actions, have your links all in the one platform, and also see and review the analytics and the performance. So that's pretty cool as well. You can see how many people like your stuff, how many people see your stuff, how many people engage with your stuff, how many shares, how many comments, how many views, how many impressions. You get the idea. So it's really useful, and it will give you a really high level overview of which accounts and which not ads, but which pieces of content are performing better than others. So if you see LinkedIn, based on analytics, is performing better than Facebook or Snapchat, then odds are you want to probably spend more time focusing on building content that's relevant for your LinkedIn audience, because that's where your engagement is, that's where your traffic's coming from. So you want to spend more effort on that. Again, 80-20 rule, 80% of your results will come from 20% of your effort, or 20% of your platforms or your access. So quick tip, don't use other people's content on your page. So on your social media account, use your own content instead. I see it often. What happens is you'll see an interesting article, you think, all right, this is cool. And it might be very, very interesting and very useful, but from a lead generation perspective, what happens is that if you actually share that person's content, so if you share a link to that person's website where you read the article, what you've done in this is this. So you've done something right, firstly, to attract the audience to your Facebook page or your LinkedIn or your Snapchat or whatever. So you've grabbed their attention. They've become aware of you. But now what you've done is you've just given them a way to exit your page. So the moment they click on your link, on that link to exit your page and read that article that's held on someone else's website, you lose control over the process. They've left your sales funnel. They've left your marketing funnel. So there's no way you can actually get them back to your page, get them back to your website. Yes, you can retarget them. Yes, you can pixel them if they've been on your website, and do things through paid advertising. And odds are if they found you once, they might even find you again organically down the track. But the point is, like, you've got their attention now. If you find value in someone else's content, what you can do is take that content, give credit to the person, but host that content on your own website. But again, credit the person, credit whoever created the article, who wrote the article. You can put that at the top of the article, at the bottom, and say, this article was first published here, here, and here, or here and here, and written by this person. So again, you don't want to be stealing people's stuff, but the point is you're driving traffic to your own website, and there's going to be that call to action at the bottom of the article, prompting the user to sign up for your free course, your free ebook, whatever it is. In the social media world, you want to keep engaged with your audience. So you'll find a lot of people follow you, and a lot of bots as well. So robots will actually follow you. And you might have 50,000 followers on Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn. But at the end of the day, if no one's engaging with your content, no one's clicking on it, no one's signing up for your programs, and that following isn't turning into revenue, you might as well not have that following. If people aren't engaging with your stuff, if they aren't liking it or commenting it or sharing it, there's something wrong there. So appreciate people when they do like your stuff, when they comment on your stuff, when they share your stuff. Invite conversation with your audience. And if someone does respond to your video or comments on your video, engage with them. Be grateful for their support, be grateful for their comment, ask them if there's anything you can do. Build rapport with them, build a tribe, build a community. Let your audience ask you questions. So in the comment section, you may, as your call to action, like if you don't have a product or if you don't have a service and you're just building your personal brand, like your call to action could be asking your audience to write a comment or leave a comment with a question that they have for you that you can address. Or it can even be as part of your intro. So you can say, hey guys, if you want me to create more content like this, drop a note, let us know what questions you have, and we'll create a video answering that question. Yeah, that's very simple, but you get the point. So engage with your audience, build rapport, build trust, build a community with them. So 2 people we can look at and model what they do, Ed Milet, who's a mentor of mine, someone I look up to, and Gary Vaynerchuk, and I've mentioned him before. They are probably 2 of the greatest content marketers out there. Like the brand they've built for themselves and how rapidly too is just incredible. So model what they do. When it comes to creating thumbnails, look at what they do. When it comes to an intro, look at what they do. When it comes to the outro, look at what they do. When it comes to the close on a video, look what they do. Look what they say. Right? Study them and apply what they've done. Because what they've done, what they're doing works. So again, don't reinvent the wheel. Do what someone successful has done or is doing, and odds are you'll get the same results. So your options with social media, and look, I'll punch through this slide because it is, again, fairly repetitive, but you can do it yourself. You can hire an employee, hire a social media management agency, whether it be local or international, or you can hire a freelancer to work either locally or internationally to work for you. So your freelancer can work for you on a payroll, on a part-time basis, on a full-time basis, as your employee really. Or they can actually work for you as a freelancer, contracted, project to project, or on a retainer. So whichever way you go about it, again, just like the other options you had, and for editing and graphic design and so on, just make sure you do what's best for you. Base it on your goals, base it on your needs, base it on your budget. And again, just be mindful of how much time and effort or work you'll be required to do. Because if you're still going to be required to engage with your audience, that might take a lot more effort than you believe, right? So you want to if you're going to outsource that work, you want to make sure you get the right person that's going to do the right amount of work for the amount you're paying them. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, at the start of the video, I mentioned that you can create all of this content with less than 15 minutes of work, and you can. But the key is to manage your time correctly and build the right team around you. So if you want to minimize your workload, build a process and a team of experts that will follow that process. So make sure that the process, it is fluid to a degree. So you don't want it to be rigid because that will limit people's creativity. So make sure, the process itself, it's streamlined, but allows your creative people to actually be creative. So if you do it yourself, if you do it yourself, what you want to be doing is go through a trial run. So do everything for the first week or 2 or 3 or 4. Edit the videos in full, create the short form videos, write the content, write the social media posts, create the graphics, create the podcast. Get an understanding of what it takes for your projects and your tasks to be done. You have the option as well to do this in collaboration with experts. So you can hire a freelancer to begin with on a trial run, so a week-long basis, where basically what you're asking them to do is you can get them on Skype so they can show you the process that they're going through, the process that they're creating to create the output, to create the graphics or the videos. And document what they're doing as they go through that process. So document the actual process itself. So once you've done that with your SEO guy, with your video editor, your graphic designer, your content writer, your audio engineer, whoever your team is, your team of experts, once you've documented their process, their individual process, what you want to do is create your own process now on the back of this. And whether or not you hire a team, that same team, so the team you just worked with, or a brand new team, you'll have a process in place that you've seen works, and then your new team can follow. So rather than being messed around with video editors that take too long, or that work on several projects at the same time and they don't have your project as a priority, or maybe they're doing a bad job or not good enough of a job, or Maybe people are spending more time when you're on a certain task and that needs to be done. You'll know how long it takes to create a video. You'll know what the time required is to do a certain task, so you can't get ripped off. Not to say you will get ripped off, but it's always good to know that information, to know from first-hand experience how long something will take. So create your own process and build a team around you that can follow that process. I mentioned earlier that we do this for our clients at 964 Digital. And we're opening up our doors right now, allowing potential clients, prospects, business owners that do have a unique and powerful message to share with an audience, leverage our team and our process. So I've mentioned it before, we've created a process, we've created quite a big team, a substantial team of experts that you could potentially leverage. So what it will mean for you is your actual workload is going to be limited to simply preparing and creating a daily video. We take care of everything else. So you will have to, just to clarify, create a simple questionnaire. Answer a simple questionnaire. Take you about 5 minutes to do. So 5 minutes to prepare for the video, 5 minutes to shoot the video, 5 minutes to answer the questionnaire. That's 15 minutes of work. And then our team will get to work. So they'll follow our process. Our creatives get creative with the video editing, with the graphic design. The content writers create the content. Social media manager manage the platforms, and the SEO expert that you'd be assigned or allocated to your account. He'll make sure everything is SEO friendly on page, but he also works off page as well. So it's a done for you service. Allows you to leverage our team of experts in our process. And what it also means is you don't have to do this on your own. So yes, you can. You can edit the videos, create the content on your own. You can hire your own team. Work with agencies, work with freelancers, recruit your team. Go through interviews, look at CVs. Go through your due diligence to build that team around you. You certainly can do that. I'm not going to stop you, but the opportunity right now is one where you can actually leverage all the work we've put in place, all the work we've done, the process we've put in place, and take advantage of it. So your new team is going to consist of a couple of people: an operations manager, a video editor, graphic designer, content writer, social media manager, and an SEO expert. So the key thing there, which I haven't actually mentioned so far to you, is the operations manager. So if you wanted to do this on your own, you can go ahead, obviously recruit your team, build your team of experts, and odds are you could probably do a very good job at that. Get the video editor, the designer, the content writer, social media manager, and SEO expert. Right, you'll have that team of 5. But the critical thing to realize is that someone still needs to manage them. And if you don't have someone in your organization already that can manage them, that's going to have to be you, right? So ask yourself, do you want to be spending your time answering questions, reviewing content, reviewing designs by the designers, the editors, the writers, and so on? Is that the best use of time? I personally don't think it would be, and that's why we've got an operations manager, because the operations manager is going to be a liaison between yourself and the rest of the team. So they're going to be bouncing ideas back and forth with you. Any issues you have, any questions you have, they'll be there for you. That'll be your first point of contact. And odds are they'll be local to you. So if you're here in Australia, they'll be local to you, so you can pick up the phone, call them, or email them, and we'll always be responsive to make sure that we're answering your questions, resolving your issues, but we're also doing right by you. So if you have ideas, if you have strategies we can implement, then we'll obviously take that on board. So that's your team. Now you might be thinking, oh man, it's going to cost an arm and a leg. The benefit of actually working with us, and one of the beauties of it, is because of the amount of clients we have and the amount of staff members we have in-house, or I shouldn't say in-house because they don't work in the office, but the amount of people on our full-time payroll, what it allows us to do is incorporate economies of scale. So economies of scale, what it basically is the more output we produce, the cost of production reduces. So in other words, rather than you hiring a full-time video editor that doesn't need to be there full time. There's not enough work for them full time, but you're paying them full time, right? What we can do is we can assign, for example, one video editor to work with 2 or 3 clients. So although we'd be paying them the same amount as you would be on a full-time basis, because that video editor is working with 2 or 3 clients, the cost is divvied up. Same thing with a graphic designer, same thing with a social media manager. So rather than you hiring someone on a full-time basis that's on your payroll consistently, whether or not they work to 40 hours a week, or if it's part-time 20 hours, or even if it's like hour to hour, you'll find that there's a difficulty in actually managing how many hours that they work. So someone might say to you, yeah, I'm doing 5 hours a week in social media management, posting all of this content, but they might have just used a social media management tool like Buffer or Hootsuite, spent 5 hours on day one scheduling posts for the rest of the week and saying, you know what, I've spent 5 hours each day posting this content. Not to say that that's going to happen, but you just want to be mindful of that because it is very possible. Same thing with an SEO expert. Odds are, unless you're a very big organization, you do not need an SEO expert in-house full-time. So all of that, that's where the amount of production we go through, what we produce, the content, the clients we work with, it allows us to incorporate economies of scale, which is going to be a good reflection and very reflective on the price point we can offer our clients if they do want to work with us. Now, I've got a question for you. What would all of this content be worth to you? So if you could create all of this content and increase your traffic to your landing pages or wherever your call to action is, increase traffic to landing pages, increase revenue, what would that actually mean to you? So if you work with us on a daily basis, we'd actually be creating on an annual basis approximately 10,000 unique pieces of content. Now let's assume those 10,000 pieces of content just generate one unique lead per piece of content over the next 12 months. So what you'll have is 10,000 new leads. And of those 10,000 new leads, let's say you have a conversion rate of just 1%. What would that actually mean to you? Like, what is that actual worth to you? I know for me personally, as a mortgage broker or former broker, the lifetime value of a client was approximately 10,000. So including the upfront commission and the trailing commission, you're looking at an average value of about 10 grand. So if I convert 1% of 10,000 leads each year, that's 100 new clients, 100 clients at 10,000 a pop. That's $1 million in lifetime value that I've brought in over that 12-month period. That's me alone, right? So if I have a team of brokers, then I could do more. Obviously, work is limited. So if I may ask again, literally, what is that worth to you? Like, is one client worth $100 to you? Is one client worth 20 grand to you? 1,000? What is that worth to you? And not just in short-term transactional value, like what's that worth to you lifetime value? So you might already know your analytics. Like if you have 10 people buy your product or your service, how many people are repeat customers, right? So that's obviously going to increase the lifetime value or the average lifetime value of a customer. So what is that worth to you? Now, a lot of people watching this video right now, you might be thinking of looking at organic content marketing, as I've just discussed, or paid advertising. And I just want to summarize the two in terms of differences. If you've ever ran paid advertising, you realize that it's very simple. It's simple, but it might not be easy. There's obviously elements that you've got to become an expert in, but it is very quick. So you can set up a campaign overnight. You can set it up within a half hour, whatever it is, right? You can boost a post within 10 minutes, or 2 minutes even, not even that, right? So paid advertising, you can get a very quick return on your investment. But the problem and the challenge I find with it is the heavy reliance of either the 1 or 2 major advertising platforms. So usually Google AdWords or Facebook, that people are reliant on. So the moment you turn those ads off, you stop getting leads. So the fountain of leads that have just been coming through as you've been paying for the advertising, that stops. And the other thing is, all you want to be mindful of is with AdWords, with Facebook, the algorithms are consistently changing or constantly changing. So Facebook advertising algorithms and requirements, they're changing. And if you breach their regulations and their sort of compliance and their policy, you can be penalized for that. And like, I've previously had an account with Facebook ads suspended, and I still to this day I still don't know why. When I ran paid ads, I thought I did everything right, and it made me realize as well that there is a certain reliance on Facebook to be approving of what we do, to be approving of the ads. Again, the moment you turn those ads off, reduce that budget or cut that budget off, that's the moment you stop getting leads. Now, if you're spending $1,000 a month on advertising, but you're getting a $10,000 return each month, it makes sense to actually continue that, assuming 10 grand makes you profitable, of course. Like, if you're running at a loss, then that's not a wise idea. But there's absolutely no reason why you'd want to change a winning system. If paid ads are working for you, if you've got a funnel set up already that's converting at a profitable margin for you, then there's no need to change that. But in saying that as well, like on the flip side of that, with organic content marketing, that's where you could look at tying the two in together. Leave your paid ads running. Don't change that. It's generating leads, it's generating clients, it's turning a profit for you. But now, how can you go one step further and supplement that with organic content marketing? Because paid advertising is short term. Like I said, you can turn it on within an hour, overnight, you can have a sale, right? And that's awesome. But organic content marketing is very much long-term focus. So you can find that, if you can even find that balance, like the paid advertising and organic marketing balance. And what I like about organic marketing, although it takes a while to build a community and an organic community around you, it can be very rewarding, because once you've created the content, once you've created the everything out there, the tribe, the followers, the authority with the search engines, the credibility, once you're on that first page, odds are you're not going to go anywhere for a while. So all those digital assets you've created, they're there for a lifetime. So there's a lifetime of the blogs, a lifetime presence of the blogs, of the podcasts, of the graphics, of the articles, of the videos. That'll all be there forever. So if you go on YouTube now, for example, you can still see videos that have been posted there 10 years ago that are getting millions of views per year, or hundreds of thousands of views per year. And they're promoting something. So there's some sort of call to action or a link people click on. It might even be like a simple Amazon affiliate link to buy a book, right? It could be something simple like that. But the point is, the work was done 10 years ago, video was created 10 years ago, and it's still generating traffic for to the link on that particular description on that particular video. So the key benefit there is that lifetime presence, the lifetime opportunity of the digital assets. And that's probably the biggest difference between paid and organic traffic and advertising. But like I said, if you can get both on par with what you're aiming for and what you're trying to do, and have them supplement one another, then you're cheering, because you've got your short-term revenue stream, but you're also building a backup with organic marketing or organic content marketing that's got that long-term focus. And it means you're not reliant on the paid ads. So you're not reliant on Facebook, or you're not reliant on Google AdWords or whatever other platform you're using. Now, here's my proposal to you. So you've gone through the training with me, you've sat around for quite some time now, and I am very grateful with that for that. But now here's my proposal to you. So what you're going to get if you do decide that you do want to explore this further with 96.4 Digital, makes sense for us, makes sense for you. You will get that team of 6 working with you. So the operations manager, the graphic designer, the video editor, social media manager, the SEO expert, as well as a content writer. So that team of 6 will be there for you. Each month, you'll create 20 videos, up to 10 minutes in length each. Our clients typically will create an average of 5-minute long videos, but we can work with you up to 10 minutes in length. For each of those videos, we're going to repurpose and recreate them into anywhere from 30 to 40 different pieces of unique content for each video. That's a lot of content. So in other words, for every single video you give us, we will create anywhere from 600 to 800 unique pieces of content for you. So we're talking graphics, we're talking short form and long form videos, we're talking blogs and articles and podcasts, social media posts. So anywhere from 600 to 800 per month. And we'll obviously, as I mentioned, manage your social media accounts as well as the on-page and off-page SEO. So that'll be done through our social media manager as well as the SEO expert. Now, you're not hiring someone in-house full-time. What that means to you is you're not going to be paying them 35, 40 grand a month for their wages, which realistically, if you were hiring a team of 6 people in Sydney to work for you full-time in your office, you'd be looking at about 40 grand a month. We're not going to ask you for that. We're not going to ask you for an investment of 20 grand a month, 10 grand a month. As you can see on your screen, the investment to get all this done for you, the content, the team of 6 behind you, and really to reduce your workload from 8 hours a day, 10 hours a day, if you were doing this yourself, down to 15 minutes a day, your investment will be 4,500 AUD, so Australian dollars per month, plus GST. Now, at that rate, I do want to ask you something. For $4,500 per month, have I met you halfway? Now, really, if you think about all the value we're delivering, the operations manager that's working for you, the social media manager, the graphic designer, the video editor, the SEO expert, the content writer, that team of 6 that's going to be around you, accessible to you pretty much 24/7, other than when they're asleep, of course, is that worth $4,500 to you? Like, what is that worth to you, that amount of content? Now, that's obviously a rhetorical question, and it's there to get you thinking. But what it will mean ultimately is it's going to help stop you from having to hire those staff members in-house. You're not going to have to jump in on a long-term contract with us or with anyone really, because we work with our clients on a month-to-month basis. So that's completely fine. And we can also customize a plan for you. So if you don't feel there's a need for you to be creating 20 videos a month, maybe you might be looking at just 5 or 6 or 10, let us know. So at the very bottom of this page or under this video, there'll be a option for you to book in an appointment to speak to myself or one of our team. If you click on that button, jump on a call, schedule a call, we'll be in touch at that time. And what we'll be able to do is just talk through your situation, what you're trying to do, how many videos you're looking to create, how much content you're trying to create, what your budget is, and we can actually customize something for you. I mentioned earlier in the training session a couple of my beliefs. And one of my beliefs that I haven't mentioned so far is the fact that I believe that entrepreneurs and action takers change the world. I don't believe politicians, presidents, or prime ministers change the world. I believe that it's entrepreneurs and action takers that actually transform lives and change the world. Congruent to that belief, for those of you that know that this is the right thing for you, that this is the right thing for your personal brand, your company brand, the direction that you want to go in, the people you want to reach, the audience you want to serve. So congruent to that belief, I believe action takers should be rewarded. So for the next 8 people that sign up to this particular service, what we'll actually do is we will reduce the price point by an additional $1,000. So in other words, you're going to be getting all of what I've mentioned previously, the team around you, the content around you, for $3,500 per month. So that includes your video editor, your operations manager, your graphic designer, your social media manager, SEO expert, and your content writer. All of that for $3,500 per month. And to be quite honest, right now, I do not want to sound like some sort of infomercial where, you know how infomercials are, but wait, there's more. If you buy now, we're going to chuck this in for you and do this and that. But I do have one more offer for you and one more value add. So I'm going to go one better. If you are looking at committing for a long term, so if you know this is the right thing for you, if you know you're in it for the long term, you're in it for the right reasons as well, we don't require you to do this. We can work with you on a month-to-month basis. But if you are looking at committing for 6 months and you're looking to pay in full, we can knock off an extra 10% off the service fee. So in other words, you'd be looking at a payment of $18,900 plus GST for the full 6 months. Now, if you're not in a position to pay in full, do get in touch about that. We can potentially look at getting creative with a payment plan and still incorporate that 10% discount. I can't guarantee you anything right now, and depending on our conversation and how that pans out. But certainly, as is on the screen, if you commit to the 6 months contract, you will knock off an extra 10% off the total amount. So if you want to go one more and you commit to a 12-month program or a 12-month arrangement with us, we will reduce the price point by 15%. So in other words, for 12 months of having an operations manager, of having a SEO expert, of having a video editor, a graphic designer, a social media manager, and a content writer, for about $35,700 plus GST, you're going to have all of that. Now, I'm not too sure if you've realized this, but that's actually less than the minimum wage here in Australia. So for the minimum wage here in Australia, you can have a team of experts that'll do everything for you. You don't have to interview them. You don't have to manage them. The only person you liaise with is the operations manager, and even myself if you wanted to. You can access the team, of course. You're not prohibited from that, but you're getting a team of experts. So people that have spent years and years and years designing, editing, social media managing, writing, SEO experts, right? A team of experts for less than what you would pay someone here in Australia the minimum wage. Like, if that's not value, I'm not too sure what is. So that's my proposal to you. If you want us to work with you, if you want us to create this content with you, if you want to leverage our process, leverage our team, reach more people, grow a community, then click on the button below. Schedule an appointment to speak with either myself or someone in my team. We'll answer all the questions you have. We will interview you, so we want to make sure that you're actually a right fit for us as well. And if it all makes sense, then we can commence proceedings. We can commence next steps and get the process started. Anyway, guys, look, it's been an absolute pleasure having you listen to this training. I do want to thank you for your time, and I genuinely hope that you found a lot of value in this training. So whether or not our paths cross in the future, I do wish you all the very best with your efforts to build your brand, to serve your community, to reach more people. I do wish you all the very best. If there's anything we can do, feel free to reach out. But other than that, guys, have a great rest of the day, great rest of the week, and great near future ahead.